To make this scarf I'm using this double knit acrylic wool in orange and black. And I'm also using this 4mm ergonomic crochet hook. To get started, you want to make your slip knot and insert your hook. And then you want to do the amount of chains you need for the width of the scarf that you're going to make. Now I did look this up online before I did it, just to make sure I was doing the right amount of chains for the foundation row. And there seems to be a few different ideas about how many chains you do. So I've just gone for the multiples of 6 method. So for my start, I'm doing 36 chains. So once you're satisfied with what the width of your scarf is going to be, including obviously your chains for your next row, you're going to go from that stitch and then you're going to skip 2 and then you're going to work a treble crochet into that chain. And then instead of moving along, you want to chain 1 and then do another treble crochet into the same space. And then you're going to move along again, skip 2 and then crochet into the third, doing another treble crochet and another chain and then another treble again into the same space. And then again skipping 2 and working into the third. You want to do your treble crochet, your chain and your second treble crochet into the same spot. And you want to repeat this until you get almost to the end. So as you work your last V stitch before the end, you just want to do 1 treble crochet into the last stitch. And this is going to match what you did at the beginning. And you should end up with something that looks like this for your starting row. So next you want to chain 3 and then turn your work. And once again you're going to be doing a treble crochet and a chain and another treble crochet into the same gap. But this time you're going to be working into the gap that you left on your last row rather than into the top of the stitch. And you want to repeat this until you get to the end of your row. And once you've done your last V-stitch on that row, you want to find the top of your last treble and just do another single treble crochet into that. And this keeps it even with the other side. And then once again turn your work and repeat across the end of the row, and just doing V-stitches into each of the gaps. So once you've done as many rows as you want to create your first stripe, which for me is quite thick, you're going to end up with something that looks a bit like this. So now you can cut the wool and take your darning needle or yarn needle, and you can fasten off that row. And if you're weaving in as you go along, like I am, then you can thread the needle and I'm going to work the yarn across the back of each of the stitches here. I just like to do this as I go along because for one reason it makes it a lot more secure because you're actually crocheting over it rather than going through it afterwards, and plus I hate weaving in all the tail ends at the end. So using this method, I do it as I go along and then just snip the tail ends off at the end. And I'm keeping it nice and secure by doing it right the way to the other side of the scarf. You don't actually have to do it like that, it's just something that I do just so I know that it's definitely secured in place. And as you go along, just stretch out your work a little bit just to make sure it doesn't bunch up because you've pulled the needle through. That's your first tail end secured, and then at the end I can just snip that off. So now I insert my hook back into the stitch that I finished on, and then I take my next colour to join. So I'm going to make a slip knot, and then insert it with the hook at the back of the work, and then pull that loop through the top of the stitch, and then chain 3 for my first treble. And then turning it round, I'm going to once again do V-stitches across the row into the gaps left by the last V-stitch. And as I do this, I'm obviously going to be crocheting over the tail end that I've just weaved in. So once you get to the end of this row, you want to do your treble crochet into the post of your last stitch, and you can also weave in the black tail end or whatever your secondary colour is here as well if you wish. So you can take that and you can put it across the top of that row. And then you want to chain 3, return your work, and continue doing V-stitches across the second row. So some people don't agree with having knots in your work as you go along. So another method of joining would be doing it like this. Doing your treble crochet, leave 2 loops on the hook. And then take your next colour and just forming a loop with this but not a slip stitch. Pull that through your work to act as the next stitch. And then taking both your tail ends here, just pull them slightly and pinch as you chain 3. And this forms the first post of your next colour. And then you can use a stitch marker here to keep it in place if you're going to weave it in as I'm going to do. So I'm just taking the black here because I'm weaving along the black colour. And then, just like I did the first time, I'm going to weave this along to the other side of the scarf. Once you get to the end, just gently adjust everything to put it back in place. Now the reason I didn't weave both tail ends in here is because if you do it with both the colours, it can show through a little bit like this. So for that reason, although it is a bit labour intensive, I do the next lot of weaving in over the same colour. So to start with, I start off with my next row doing a row of V stitches once again with the next colour. And once I get to the end of that row, I'm going to do my final treble crochet, and then I'm going to put a stitch marker to keep my place here. And now I'm going to take the tail end that I had from the last join, and I'm going to thread the needle. And now just working along the post, I'm just going to weave it through so it's not visible at the edge of the scarf. And then I'm going to go once again, just like I did the other 2 times, and I'm going to weave it along the whole row. Doing it this way, you won't have any little colours showing through on your stripe. I mean, obviously people probably wouldn't notice this as you're wearing the scarf, but if you're particular about it, and I am quite particular about it, it just makes sure that there's nothing visible to anybody. And I know this is quite labour intensive, but it has to be done either during the work or at the end, and I just prefer to do it as I go along because I really hate this part of crocheting and knitting. Just working it through all the way, and then at the end you just pull it, put everything into place. Just making sure there's no bunching there. And with that done, both your ends are woven in, and you can continue with your colour, whichever colour it is you're using at this point. And just do as many rows as you've done the other stripes. So once you've done as many rows as you want for the length of your scarf, you do your final treble crochet and then snip the end of your wool and fasten off. And then if you've woven in as you've gone along, as I have, you should probably have, depending on how many rows you did for your stripes, all the tail ends at one side. So I'm just going to check along the scarf now to make sure they're all at the same side, so I've definitely woven them all in, and then I can just trim them all off. Thankfully I have done them all on the same side, so they can all just be snipped off now. And I'm not snipping the top one off or the last one either, because they're going to be hidden because I'm adding pom-poms on this one. I've got a separate video where I did pom-poms on a scarf, so if you want to know how to add pom-poms, I'm going to link that in the description below. I'm not adding it at the end of this video because it's already been done, so some people might not want to add them anyway. And once you've done all that, you should end up with something that looks like this, apart from the tail ends, obviously.